Hello everyone, welcome to the Engineering Projects YouTube channel. My name is Junesh Shahid, and in this video I'm going to explain you how you can work with edu.net CRUD operations in your application. We are using edu.net because it is very fast, strong and very good in speed by handling a lot of data in the database. A lot of conventional applications are based on edu.net and performing their CRUD operations with the help of stored procedures. We are using two approaches to perform and process the information. We are using SQL Command to write the queries in the C# variables and execute that with the help of command variables. And either we are using the second process, which is the store procedure. We have created all the queries in the store procedure and process that with the help of command type store procedure. You can do with the both of them if you have applicable in your application. It is totally dependent upon your application strategy and the requirement. If you are working with a load of data and you are working with the enterprise level application, or you have a SaaS type application, such as if you are using or developed a school management system and that is entertaining a lot of schools, hundred and thousands of schools, I will recommend you to use the store procedure because it will allow you to process between multiple databases. If you have on the certain point you have to use multiple databases, then you can only use that with the help of store procedure. Yes, you can do that with the SQL command too, but it become a lot of mess to handle a lot of queries upon the C# variables. So I will recommend you, if you have a lot of big application which you are going to develop and it's startup and whatever you have right now, you can use store procedure to maintain a big application. In the next video you can see we have created a small application in which we have performed the CRUD operations. We have used simple fields and simple forms to create, read, update and delete information. I hope this will be informative for you. If you didn't subscribe our YouTube channel, please do that. We are working really hard and work a lot to provide with a good and quality information which will be beneficial for you. If you have any kind of question, you can ask us, and don't forget to subscribe the Engineering Projects YouTube channel. Let's see the video.
Let's start it by creating a new project. Click here to create a new project. Now you have to select which type of project you want to create, and we are wanting to create ASP.NET Core application. Select this and press next. Name your application as edu CRUD and create application. Then it will ask you about the type and the pattern which you want to use. So we want to create web application, MVC based this application. Okay, if we will select this, it will create a complete dummy project which we don't need to create. So we will click on empty and create the project. Indeed, there are multiple templates which you can use. So for this purpose, to save the time, we are going with web application model view controller based. And now it is creating the project. So our project is based on ASP.NET Core and we are using MVC pattern. Here is the sample project which we have created. You can see we have a default controller, we have a default model, and we have default view. We don't need these, but we can utilize these in our project. How we can use these in our project? We will use the same controller, but we are going to create our own action result and action listeners to provide data. If we are working with CRUD operations, there are 4 operations which we have to perform. Create data. Here I will explain you. For example, you are working with CRUD. So C for create and R for read data. Create mean insert data into the database. Read mean to select data from database. U mean to update existing data which you have created, and D mean delete that existing data. So you have to perform 4 operations in your application with the help of ADO.NET. You can perform these operations with 2 methodologies. Either you can place query in the command, either you can place query in a store procedure where a set of queries are available, and perform specific query from store procedure instead of the command. I know when I am explaining this you don't get this point, but when we will practical this you will get 100% of it. So what we are going to do, here we have index which will remain same. In the index, let's go to its view. Okay, in the index view we are going to create a form. So remove all existing things and create a simple form. This is the form, and here we have input field, type of text, okay, and name it as user name. This is a simple field we have in the form. Action of this form is post. Oops, not post. Method is post. And we need to create an action where this data will be submitted. Create a button to submit the information. Type submit, value, submit, name. That's it. Now we need to create an action to submit or process this information. So here in the index we are going to create an other replica, but we are going to differentiate the both of names with the help of action attributes. So what action attributes do? They will specify what method will be entertained on the same name. So this method is by default HTTP GET. So we don't need to write here, but this method will be HTTP POST. So we need to specify this. With the help of square braces, we will say HTTP, and here you can see POST method. So whenever we will call this, it will be differentiated and get called with the help of this. Okay. Now what it is saying? It is saying you cannot create same name, same parameter methods because it's give you conflict. Whatever you have created action attribute, but it doesn't work. So what we need to do, we need to create a model which will process our data. So in our model we have only one value, which is username. So right click here in the model, and we are going to create a new class. So model is just a class. Okay, now we have right click on the model and let's create a class, name it as user info, and add that class under the model folder. Now when this class is created, we need to create a property. Instead of writing the whole public string username, you can do a shortcut thing. You just need to write prop and press double tap, and when you will do that, a sample property is created. You just need to change data type and name. So data type is string and it is username. Remember one thing, when you are working with MVC, your properties name and the name from where you want to get information must be same. So here you can see I am using the camel case username, and here you can see username, both are same. Okay, now what I will do, I will copy this and pass in my index action as a parameter. Okay, and name it as UI. So this is class and this is object. Now you can see the conflict is gone because we have differentiated these methods or action result with the help of models or parameters. Now you need to understand how it's work. When I will process this by index. Okay, remember one thing, I am processing this that the action is index. So it's come to home controller and find the post method. We are using method post, and under the post method it will see this, and all the information which is available in the form will automatically bind to this object, and by this object we can process data within the database. So to have some depth knowledge, I am going to execute this. Let me save this project and execute this application. Here you can see our application is executed, and here is the input field and here is the submit name. When I will right click here and inspect where it will send information, then I get to know it is index, and here I see a mistake. And what is the mistake? We are sending information on index, but we are not specifying which controller, so we need to specify a controller here. So how we can specify a controller? The name of controller is home, so we need to add a prefix there, simply like this, and that's it. Now let me refresh the page and add a debugger here. So when I will submit the form, I will get information here, and I can visualize you how information will be processed. Okay, now it is going to be refresh, and suddenly when it's refresh, here you will see a postfix of home controller. Okay, now it's fine. My name is Junaid, and click submit. So this information is submitted on the post action attribute, and here is the index action, and here you can see this is a user info class, and here is the UI object. And when I will expand, you can see the username is automatically bind in this model. So now the first phase of CRUD operation is done. We are going to create information, but we are not able to insert into the database because we don't have a database. So we need to create that. Stop the application now and go to your SQL Server Management Studio. I'm using 2014 version. Whatever the version you have, you can use that. It is 12.0. Okay, so in the database, right click here and click on new database. Even that you can do that by query, but to not waste my time, I am going with the UI view. Okay, so here we need to create ADO CRUD. ADO CRUD is the name of our database, and now inside this database we are going to create a table. If you will expand, here you can see the table, and there is no table available right now. You need to create that. Click on table, and inside this view you have to create the properties of your table. So the first property in every table must be the primary key. So I will use UID. It means user information or user ID, and data type must be of integer or numeric, whatever you like. To add, you can do that, and it is not a nullable value, because whenever the primary key is created, there are some specific properties must be associated with that. It must not be a nullable, it must not be a string or varchar, etc. so that whenever we will perform joins in the complex data, it will be work fine. So it is not null, it is type of int, and it is a type of primary key. So I have set that as a primary key. Now we have a column user name, which is type of varchar 50. It can be a nullable. I'm not using any restriction because it's a demo and we don't have a specific requirement. Okay, so now we need to do one thing more. We need to make it auto incremented. So what we will do here, you can see identity specific, which is no. You need to make it yes. And now by default in each entry it will create a incremented ID, so it will always a unique one. Now you can do two things. Either you can generate change script and execute that, or either you can use Control S to save this table. So name it this table as user info and click OK. So this table is saved. Now when I will refresh this, you can see the user info table is created having two columns. One is the primary key and second is the user name. So we are done with our database and table. Now it's time to create the ADO.NET command. So what we will do, we will create ADO.NET command here under this ADO command. Okay, when we have received information, we need to process that, and we can only process this information with the help of ADO in this project. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to create a SQL command. We need to define the query, or we need to define which procedure we are using. But first of all, we are working with a query. We need to open the connection, and when the connection is open, we need to execute that query, and then we are done. So before all of this, we need to create a connection. So we will create a connection on the global level. Here we are going to use string connection information, and under this we are passing our connection information. Okay, now we need to define a string which is containing three information. The first information is the server, which server you are using. Then the second information is which database of that server, and the third is what is the credentials you are using. So here we are going to implement these three information here. So let's define the server, which names as data source. So what is the source of data? Is equal, and from here when you will right click here and go to properties, you will get to know what is the source of your database, and here is that source, the name of my machine. Copy this and paste that here. The second thing is initial catalog, which is the name of database. So here you can initial catalog is equal the name of database, which we are getting from here, and then there is security integration, which will define your credentials. So use integrated security is equal to, which means we are using default credentials of our application. Okay, so this is up to the connection string. Now we need to create SQL connection string which need to be open. We are going to create SQL. Here you can see, okay, we need to add the library of SQL client which will enable us to perform different operations. For this, we forcefully write command SQL connection obj is equal new SQL connection, and now we need to add the references SQL client. Okay, so it is done. In this is main connection. Okay, this one is the main connection dot open. So this connection will get open, under which we will process information. But before this, you need to define which connection information you are going to connect. So we will pass this parameter under this SQL connection object. So now this connection is open. When this connection is open, and let me close this connection, main connection dot close, and under this open and close we need to perform actions which will be triggered within the database. So let's create a command which will insert information in the database, like string my command is equal insert into user info, which is the table, having value user name value, and here we will pass that information which will come from here, UI dot username under this single quote. So this is the command which I want to execute on my database. Now we need to create SQL command object, and we can do that on the global scope. Simply I will create SQL command. My command is equal new SQL command. Okay, that's it. Now or indeed we can create this here, and here we need to pass our command. Here we need to pass the connection in the first parameter, or we can pass this command which we need to execute, or either we can see what type or parameter we need to add by pressing F12, and it will lead us to the interface. So this is the first is the query and second is the command. Okay, so we just need to swap these, and that's it. So first is query and second is command, and then we need to just dot my command dot execute, or what is the error right now here on line number 29. Okay, yes, now we just need to execute this command, which we can simply do by using this dot execute non-query or execute scalar. We are using this different purpose. If we are using the execute scalar, it's mean you want some data whenever the information is executed, and if you are using execute non-query, it's mean you doesn't need any information, but you need the count what happens. Like if we are inserting information, so the count will be the 1. If we are inserting multiple information, then the count will be depend upon that queries. Okay, and this is the simply which we are going to done. Okay, now save it. Now what we will do, we will execute this application, and when I will submit the information, it will get executed into the database. But before that, let me show you what is the current condition of our table. Okay, select 1000 rows, and here you will see we have nothing available in our database right now. Okay, let's execute application. So our application is executed, and let's add my name here now and submit the name. And here we have attached a debugger, and we will debug that slowly by pressing F10. Okay, a connection is open. Now we are inserting information. Here the command is executed, and okay, yes, incorrect syntax near value. Okay, we have some small bug here, so we need to stop execution. Here when we are giving that values, instead of value we are using values and processing this information. Okay, now execute once again, and again write the name, process it. Let's come to the debugger point. So okay, press F10 slowly, so you will get to know what's happening in the background. And let's hover this command, and here you can see what is the command. So this is the actual command which we need to perform. Insert into user info table. The column is username and the value is this. Okay, now press F10 once again, and query is executed successfully, and let's continue. Okay, let's come here and execute this, and here you can see a one entry is inserted in the database. So we have covered create point. In the CRUD we have covered successfully the create one. So we have the knowledge how we can create information, how we can connect database, how we can create tables and insert data within that. Now the next step is to read information in edu.net. Right now we have done this by query. When we will cover the CRUD completely, I will do the same process with the help of procedure. So let stick to the query. Okay, now what I need to do, I need to create a list, or I need to get information here when I will execute the basic index. So stop execution, use this whole part, copy this part. Okay, now here we need to select information, which means I want to read information. So what I will do, I will use select all from user info, select all from user info, and here we need to create the SQL reader object. Okay, here you can see SQL data reader, my read, and this object will read information from database. We will use a while loop and get information from there, and in this case we need to use execute scalar. Here you can see there is a sentence, return the first column of the first row and the result set returned by the query addition column row are ignored. So we don't need this, we need to use execute reader. Send command text and build connection. Okay, and whatever the condition you are using, upon that you can create the method of query. In our case, we need to read all the information. That's why we are using execute reader. Execute reader, and execute reader will be is equal to my reader. And now let's create a while loop. While my reader read information from database, the loop will be continuously performed its action. So now what we can do, we can create a list, or we can simply create an object, because we have only one value. So I'm going to create a object here of this type. A single object is equal new user info. Okay, user info dot username is equal. Okay, when you are working with execute reader, it will read information in the way like array. So if you want to get username, it is upon the index 1. So UID on index 0 and username is on index 1. So each time this loop is performed, you will get information with the help of index. So from here we can get information by index. Now I will command my reader as to get value on index 1 dot toString. So it will return me information which is username, and place that here. And now I will send this UI here in the view, and in the view I am going to use this same model, which is this. Okay, here I will go on the top at model and the name of my application dot the place where the models exist dot the name of the model which I want to use, and that's it. Okay, and now what I will do, I will execute the name in h2. Okay, and I will use add model dot username and user name, and it will get data from database and show me on the screen. Let's execute this application, and here the application is executed and you can see the results. Okay, I am on the get index page, that's why it is giving me the last inserted name. And let me stop the debugger so that I can give you a complete demo. Simply what I will do, write the name, submit the information, the request goes to the post index 1, and then when I will come again on the this one, you can see the Shahid is printed here. It is the get page and the error is occurred on the post page. Okay, so the error is occurred because we didn't pass the model in the post one. So if we will pass that on the post one, it will not giving us error anymore. Stop execution and use this. Okay, that's it. Now we have done two operations. We have created the data, we have read the data. Now it's time to update the information. Okay, so what we will do, we are going to create an other action which will update the information. Simply copy this, copy and paste here. Okay, now it will be of HTTP put, which is used to update information. Okay, the same error occur here, that you cannot use the same parameter. We are using the one parameter which we need to replace. So we are going to use update user info. Okay, so how we can update user info? We can create an other form here. Okay, and we will use this action here, and method will be put, and here we will define the username, which username we want to update. Okay, and here is the new username. Okay, let me use placeholder here, old username and new username, and here we will use update name. Okay, now we need to update information, so we will use update query, update username, user info, and set username is equal to this name, where username is equal to this name. Okay, so this is the new username, old username, and we need to create another property here as old username or new username. So the new username will be here and old username will be here, which comes from this object, and it will be execute as non-query and return to this page. Okay, that's cool. Now we need to execute application and update information. The next one is to delete information. So what we will do, we will delete information by creating an other request with HTTP delete and delete user information, delete user info and delete from user info where username is equal to this, and remove the rest of items. Okay, where username is equal to this, and it will remove that information. So by this we have complete the CRUD operation with the SQL command. Okay, now we need to create an other form which will use the method delete, and the action is delete user info, and we need to use just username and delete name. Now execute application. Here you can see how our application is look alike here. So the old name is Shahid and new name is new Shahid, and update the name. Okay, let me see what's happened actually. We have used this and used the put method, and the put is giving them in the parametric value instead of using the model bind. Okay, so let's improve this. We can use the post request here too. So let's use the post request here. So that it can easily bind it. Use post here, and post here, and then execute application. So the application is executed once again. The old name is Shahid, new name is new Shahid. Update the name. Okay, the exception occurred, that's okay, no problem. Once again, and here you can see the old name is changed into the new Shahid. Okay, now we are going to delete the information. So delete the new Shahid name, delete it. Okay, error, no problem, because we didn't give the object into the model. And here you can see the information is deleted. Let's see in the database. Here you can see only one record is available. So we have completely performed CRUD operation with the help of SQL command. Now it's time to work with store procedures. So how we can do that? Same as we have created the table, it's time to right click here in the programmability, store procedures, and click on store procedure. Here you can replace the name as user info procedure, and here we will add some parameters which are same like bool, string, var, etc. like filter varchar 50 comma, then at username varchar 50, at new username varchar 50, and that's. Now create queries here as if at filter is equal create, then begin transaction, and here insert into user info where the column is username having values username. Okay, then else if filter is equal to read, then begin and select all from user info, and let me replicate this. Else if update and delete, and here you can see this is CRUD CRUD operations, and update user info, set username is equal to new username where username is equal old username, and delete from user info where username is equal username, and that's it. And here we are done. Let's execute this store procedure. It is executed. Now we need to set the same thing with the help of store procedure. We are not using the my commands anymore. Okay, we need to do small slight changes, and what are that changes? In the insertion part, let's see here in the create part, let's do that. We are doing SQL command, processing that here. Now we are not giving the command, but we are giving the name of procedure which we have created, and the name of procedure is user info procedure. Oops, give that command here. And then after giving this, you don't need this string anymore. You just need to define what is command type. Dot command type is equal command dot store procedure, and that's it. So here you have defined this is the store procedure and the command type is of store procedure, and now it's time to send some parameters by which we can get information, and for that we are using add parameter command. So let's copy my command variable dot parameters, okay, is equal, then add the parameters. You can do by the both way by defining this like this, or you can do that to here as a list add, then new SQL parameter, and here you will define like add filter comma create, okay, like this. Okay, so this parameter is executed and the whole command will be the rest as same at it is. Okay, now when I will execute this, you will see it will fetch the information from the database. Instead of command, we are using store procedure now. If you want to do some cleaner code, you can do that by your own self by replacing all the commands with the procedure filters. So here you can see this value is coming from store procedure. Like here you can see we are triggering the filter read and it is sending this information. Okay, so if you want to perform store procedure in your all actions, you can update that same here. You just need to replace the command with the store procedure name. You need to change the command type as store procedure. You need to add parameters in your command and then execute that, and the rest will be the same as SQL command.